she yelled. "You can't fish here. This is private HOA property." I looked up from my line, confused but calm. "Ma'am, this is my cabin. My land." Karen stomped closer, waving a clipboard like a sword. "Don't lie. I've been the HOA president here for 12 years. You can't just walk in and fish where you want." The lake rippled quietly behind me while she ranted, her voice echoing through the trees. I'd been coming here every weekend for years, but this was the first time someone from that fancy new development across the water showed up screaming. "I pay dues here. You don't," she snapped, pulling out her phone. "I'm calling the cops right now." "Go ahead," I said, trying not to smile. She dialed, pacing near the dock. "Yes, officer, there's a trespasser. He's armed with fishing gear and refusing to leave." She glared at me like I just confessed to a crime. While she waited for the police, she started snapping photos of my truck, my fishing rod, even the cabin sign that had my grandfather's name carved into it. "This'll prove you don't belong here," she said. I sighed, reeled in the line slowly, and said quietly, "You might want to hang up before you embarrass yourself." She laughed. "Laugh? When the cops get here, you'll be in handcuffs." 5 minutes later, 2 state police SUVs pulled up the gravel road, tires crunching, engines low. Karen crossed her arms proudly. "Finally! Arrest him!" she shouted. The officers stepped out and waved at me first. "Hey, Mike! Didn't know you were up here today." Karen froze, her mouth half open. "Wait, you know him?" "Of course," the officer said, taking off his sunglasses. "He's the guy who leases this whole cabin property to the state for our weekend retreats." Karen's face turned red. "What do you mean? This is HOA land." "No, ma'am. That sign means you just trespassed on his land." Karen's phone slipped from her hand. I just looked at her and said quietly, "Next time maybe check your map before calling the law on your landlord."
Karen's jaw clenched, and she tried to recover her pride. "That can't be right," she muttered. "Our HOA has jurisdiction over this entire lake." The officer chuckled. "Ma'am, your HOA stops 2 miles south of this dock. This land belongs to the cabin owner, Mr. Miller, and the lease paperwork's filed with the state." Karen's eyes darted between me and the officer, clearly searching for a way to twist things around. "Then why does it look like HOA property?" she snapped. "Because," I said calmly, "your developer illegally built a walking trail right across the edge of my land last year. I've been patient about it until now." The other officer knelt beside a marker stake near the shoreline and brushed off some dirt. The bright orange tag underneath clearly read, "State Police Lease, Private Land." He stood, smirking. Guess the HOA skipped geography day. Karen's face was turning a darker shade of red. "You can't talk to me like that. I'm the president." "Not here, you're not," I interrupted. She spun on me, shaking her finger. "You think you can intimidate me with fake badges and fake paperwork?" Before I could respond, the officer stepped between us. "Ma'am, watch your tone. He's the lessor of our official property lease. You're lucky he's not pressing trespassing charges right now." Karen blinked rapidly, trying to process what she just heard. "You're saying he rents this land to the police?" "That's exactly what I'm saying," I replied. "The department uses it for weekend training retreats, which means every inch of this dock, this cabin, even that storage shed you're standing next to, is technically under state use." Her jaw dropped. "That's impossible." "It's legal," the officer said flatly. "And if you'd like to see the paperwork, we can email your HOA board a copy." Karen looked like she wanted to melt into the gravel, but instead of apologizing, she muttered, "We'll see about that," and stormed back toward her SUV. As she drove off, throwing dust everywhere, the officer turned to me and sighed. "These HOA types think they run the world." I smiled faintly. "Oh, she's not done yet. She's the kind who calls county inspectors next." The officer chuckled. Well, she's in for another surprise. The county already knows this is Lease.
2 days later, I was back at the cabin, repairing the old dock that Karen nearly tripped over during her little meltdown. The morning was quiet, calm, until I heard tires crunching on gravel again. I sighed. Here we go. Sure enough, Karen's white SUV rolled up, this time with 2 other cars behind it. Out stepped a man in a suit, clipboard in hand, and a woman in a county badge vest. Karen strutted toward me like she owned the mountain. "There he is," she shouted. "The trespasser, the squatter who's been using public land for his personal profit." The county officer frowned. "Ma'am, slow down. We're just here to verify a complaint." I wiped my hands on a rag. "Let me guess. She said I built on HOA property again." Karen crossed her arms. "You did. I checked the maps. The HOA has a right-of-way around this entire lake, and your dock is blocking it. You'll have to tear it down." The man in the suit, apparently a county land surveyor, opened his tablet and started tapping. "Let's see. Parcel 9B, Section 4. Leased to State Police Training Division. Effective until 2031. Karen frowned. "That can't be right." He turned the screen toward her. "It's right here, signed by your county commissioner." The county officer looked at me. "Sir, is this your lease?" "Yep," I said, handing her a folder. "Official copy, notarized. The state police use this cabin for a tactical weekend training. I just maintain the place." Karen's voice cracked. This is ridiculous. No one told the HOA." The officer gave her a look. "They don't have to, ma'am. This isn't HOA jurisdiction." Her fake confidence started to crumble. "You don't understand. He's dangerous. He threatened me." That made the surveyor laugh out loud. The man leasing land to state law enforcement? Dangerous? Ma'am, half the people who come here for retreats are police captains. Karen's face went pale. I folded my arms, calm as ever. "Karen, if you wanted a lake view, you could have just asked instead of trying to steal mine." She pointed a trembling finger at me. "You're making a big mistake. I'll bring the HOA board next time." The county officer raised an eyebrow. "If you trespass here again, we'll have to cite you for harassment." She froze, looking between us, realizing she'd just been cornered. As she turned to leave, I said quietly, "Next time you call someone a trespasser, make sure it's not the guy who writes your police department's lease checks." The surveyor snorted. "You just made my week, sir."
3 nights later, a storm rolled in. Heavy rain, lightning flashing over the lake. I was inside the cabin, sipping coffee, when I saw headlights creeping up the gravel road again. I set the mug down slowly. "You've got to be kidding me." Through the rain, I saw Karen's SUV. But this time, she wasn't alone. 2 men in dark jackets got out with her. No uniforms, just black hats and flashlights. I stepped out onto the porch. "Karen, it's after midnight. What are you doing here?" She smirked, holding a folder against her chest. "Finishing what I started. These men are private security, HOA enforcement." I actually laughed. "Private security? You're trespassing again." One of the men moved toward my gate. "We're authorized to remove you from HOA-controlled land." "Authorized by who?" I asked. "By me," Karen said proudly. "I have board approval." The wind howled through the trees, rain splashing against the dock. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone. "You might want to call your fake cops off," I said, dialing a number, "because the real ones are on their way." Karen scoffed. "You think they'll show up for you?" The phone clicked. "Dispatch, State Police," came the voice. "Yeah, it's Miller. We've got trespassers at the training cabin again. One of them claims to be HOA security." Karen's smirk faded instantly. "Wait, what?" The headlights from a third vehicle appeared down the road. Blue and red lights flickered through the trees. Within seconds, 2 real state police SUVs pulled up. The same officers from before stepped out, raincoats glistening. "Evening, Mike," one of them called out.
Guess we're not done with this HOA business yet." The officers turned to Karen and her security. "Ma'am, hands where we can see them. You're trespassing on restricted property and impersonating law enforcement." Karen started shaking. No, I was just... You brought fake security onto state property. That's a serious charge." The two men tried to explain, but within minutes, they were on the ground, face down, cuffs clicking tight. Karen stood frozen, her umbrella shaking in her hand. I looked at her quietly. "5 minutes ago, you thought you were in control. Now you're standing on a law enforcement lease with illegal guards." She swallowed hard, her voice barely a whisper. "I didn't know. I told you to check your map. You just didn't listen." The officers led the men to their patrol car. Karen followed, drenched and silent. One officer turned to me and said, "We'll file the charges. She won't be back." As their taillights disappeared into the rain, I looked over the lake, calm again like nothing ever happened. I sat back